spite of the apprehensions, the federal government is insisting that no threats can stop the conduct of the 2023 general election, which is just over a month away. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, made the government's position clear at a news conference in Abuja. He insists that no amount of threats can stop the election as planned.
Let me use this opportunity to respond to inquiries from the media over a widely circulated report credited to an INEC official that the 2023 general elections face a serious threat of cancellation due to insecurity. The position of the federal government remains that the 2023 elections will be held as planned. Nothing has happened to change that position. We are aware that INEC is working with the security agencies to ensure that the elections are successfully held across the country. The security agencies have also continued to assure Nigerians that they are working tirelessly to ensure that the elections are held in a peaceful atmosphere. Therefore, there is no cause for alarm.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed there. Well, joining us now, security expert Dr. Kabir Adamu and Nwagwu, who is the chairman of the civil society organization Partners for Electoral Reforms. Thank you both of you, gentlemen, for joining us on Newsnight tonight. This is a question I'd like both of you really to address, essentially. Let me start with you, Nwagwu. I mean, when you heard from INEC, well, purportedly, that the 2023 election might be threatened because of the state of insecurity, and if nothing is done about it, it may not just be postponed, but could actually be cancelled. And then you hear from Lai Mohammed, Information Minister, that nothing will stop the elections from going on. How comforting is that? And are you even concerned that such a situation could actually arise?
Well, it's important to first underscore the fact that the threat is a call to duty bearers to become much more responsible and do what they have to do. And in this situation, we're talking about security agents. Through the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, there is now need for the ante to be upped in a way that responds to the call of INEC. And beyond the security agents, it is also important that other stakeholders get more interested. We must get to that point where we understand that any idea about cancellation of the election should not arise because there is no opportunity for third term. And if there is no opportunity for third term, it therefore means that every Nigerian, every duty bearer, in this case the security agents, must do all that we have to do too. But I don't even know which election since 2011 in Nigeria that has not been threatened, in the sense in which we are getting INEC to do that. All you need to do is just to pull back a bit. You will find that this kind of conversations also arose in 2011, in 2015, in 2019. But at the end of the day, self-respecting Nigerians would have to put the pressure for us to ensure that where it is possible, these elections are held and then we can move on.
Kabir Adamu, I know, I mean, you have a security outfit. It's something you do regularly to monitor the security situation across the country. How do you assess these threats? I mean, the INEC speaks about the umbrella body of political parties has also raised concerns about electoral violence threats. What do you say? And what's the missing component? What's the missing security component in the forthcoming election that you have identified?
Thank you, Adithu and Ngozi. And let me start by hoping 2023 has started off on a good note for you. I've done extensive work in understanding election risk management by INEC. And I must say with all sense of responsibility that INEC under Professor Jiga and now under Professor Mahmood is an organization that every Nigerian should be proud of with regards to how they are responding to the security threats. I'm not aware that there's any organization within the country at the moment that has deployed the types of modern security solutions that INEC has deployed, including solutions that are AI-based, that's artificial intelligence-based, and other technologies that is assisting INEC in terms of responding to the security threats. But there is a lacuna, and that's what I would like to speak about. Ezenwa has mentioned it, and that is the fact that INEC does not have a single security operative under its direct control. It has deployments from some of the security organizations, but to an extent, they are just deployed and embedded under it. They are not its personnel. So that makes INEC's task of conducting elections in a safe and secure environment dependent on the functions of the various team members of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. And it is in this light that I'm interpreting the statement that the media, unfortunately, and yes, I've been provided a platform by a media house, but I must mention this, that when I first saw that report in a media platform, I was worried, but then I insisted on seeing the actual statement by the representative of INEC, and I was a little bit surprised. In my honest opinion, that statement was taken out of context. Yes, he highlighted the possibility of either rescheduling or postponement of the elections, but he tied it to constituencies that were security challenged. And he also brought out the issue of margin of principles. In other words, discussion time will not allow me to go into that discussion, but it's a particular element within the elections. So I wish the media had painted that picture and also given the context within that where that statement was made. It was at a forum where INEC was trying to validate its tool for election risk management, 4 tools that, like I said at the beginning of my statement, every Nigerian should be proud of, that we have such an organization that has reached out to the international world, sourced for technology that is not only modern, but that has been tried in other parts of the world, and that we are now also adopting and using. So in direct response to your question, I'm quite impressed with INEC's role, function in its attempt to manage the risk element within the electoral process. The lacuna, however, is INEC is dependent on other bodies outside itself that frankly it doesn't have any control over. And what INEC is trying to do is to call the attention of these organizations to say, do your work. If you don't do your work, then it would impact our ability to conduct safe, free, and fair as well as credible elections.
Ezenwa, I wonder what you have in response to what Dr. Kabir Adamu has said. He has confidence that INEC, as far as risk management of the process is concerned, is on top of its game. I mean, you've been monitoring elections, and your group is really about electoral reforms and all of that. From your standpoint, on the issue of INEC, the deployment of technology and all that, including, of course, BVAS and what have you, what's your assessment of the level of INEC's readiness? How confident are you that INEC really is ready to deliver on this election?
Well, I've always liked to push away this question, Ngozi, and that's because there is too much focus on what INEC will do or what INEC will not do. In terms of ticking the box, INEC is making incremental progress in election coordination and administration. But the role of other stakeholders impact on the quality of elections. And the most critical of that will be the role of security agents. I am hoping that between now and the end of this month, that the security agents can give Nigerians a national election security plan that we can interrogate and say, okay, this is what we want to be able to do between this time. INEC will tell you between this time, we're going to do collection of PVC. After collection of PVC, we're going to do this. But we don't get that from the major stakeholders. And in this particular case, I hope the security agents will not go into their normal game of territorialism, who is going to be leading, whether it's going to be the police or the army or the DSS. And ordinarily today, every one of them is doing police jobs. All of them are involved in police jobs. So we need to have coordination, strong coordination, in a way that guarantees that the role, the functions, and whatever INEC has put in comes in synergy with what they are also doing. But beyond that, we must also begin to inflict traditional and moral authorities in the way we conduct election. By that I mean involving traditional rulers. In these places where there are challenges, we need to get moral authority, traditional authority to play a role right now and say, hey, if elections do not hold in this place, what is the consequence for us as a people? Is important, because if we don't engage them now to talk to their wards, to begin to get into this kind of engagement that is needed for these elections, then we begin to put all the searchlights on what INEC is doing. But we need to mobilize every other person right now for free and fair elections. All
right, Dr. Kabir, Adamu, you did say this particular story coming from INEC was taken out of context. But let me also say that at the last count, INEC itself identified at least 50 incidents related to electoral violence, including campaigns across the country. And for that, the INEC, the electoral body, expressed concerns. It was worried already that, pre-elections, we already have at least 50 incidents. So there is a concern of security threat outside of this report. But I want to ask you, because again, you have mentioned that they do not have their own security. They are depending on the Nigeria police force. Is the police equipped to deal with a situation of electoral violence? And let me also ask, if you know what those predominant factors for this violence could be, so that we begin to watch out for them and perhaps even prevent them.
Beautiful question, Aditya, and I would kind of pick what Adamu has mentioned and expounded. So he talked about the need for an election management plan by the ISS, as it were, and he worried about the fact that there may be territoriality and that would deny us that. And unfortunately, yes, I agree that is likely to happen. And my solution, as I've said in 2011, 2015, and I'm going to 2019, and I'm going to repeat before the 2023 election, the solution to that is for INEC itself to increase its internal capacity for risk management. It has a department, it has an electoral institute that is working on risk management, but it now needs to increase the capacity of that department in such a way that when ISS meetings are called, that department will be there and it would be able to raise critical questions that members of ISS will have to address. Right now, the situation is the other way around. And unfortunately, it's a legacy of our military past, but we need to break away from that. Second point is, and this will address the point also raised by Adamu regarding traditional rulers. The mandate of ISS allows it to operate at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local government level. Sometime in November or early December, the Inspector General of Police issued a circular where he directed all the commissioners of police to convene ISS at the state level. I'm not aware that has been done, at least in the few states where I attempted to make inquiries. I'll give examples. I tried to make inquiries in Kano State. I tried to make inquiries in Edo State and in Lagos State. In all of these states, at the state level, ISS was not convened. Now, if they were convened, the stakeholders, including traditional rulers, market women associations, all the various members at that level will be brought in and will be able to identify threat levels at that granular level. Now, it is output of that would inform the production of the election management plan at the federal level. You wouldn't just sit down and produce it. But not to say INEC did convene, the police did conduct a retreat. I think it was in Imo State in late November, early December, where they attempted to put together something that would appear to be an election management plan. And they did invite other stakeholders.
30 seconds, if you can. Part of the complaint, IPAC, the advisory body of political parties, parties, accuses governors of using touts, to attack opponents. It seems like it makes a nonsense of the peace accord. What do you have to say to that very quickly?
Because there is just a dereliction of responsibility. The Electoral Act does not warn anybody. There are components of that piece of legislation that says if you do this, this happens to you. So the police does not need, the security agents does not need to warn anybody. INEC does not need to warn anybody. If there are infractions, we need deterrent. And that deterrent has to come from doing what you have to do and not addressing press conferences explaining what has happened. That is not going to, and that you have won this, you have won that. We need to move away from warning to that point where we now hear that somebody is being detained, arrested, prosecuted for electoral violence, even while we await the passing of the Electoral Offences Commission bill.
Well
Fantastic.
said, and that's a good place to leave it. We must thank both of you. Dr. Kabir, Adamu, looks like we lost connection with you just at the end there, but thank you so much. He's a security expert, as well as Nwagwu, who's the chairman of the civil society organization Partners for Electoral Reforms.